Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Monup, and I've got some good news for you. I have your must-see movie of the summer on this episode. I have the production designer to tell you all about it. Her name is Liz Toonkel, and she is the production designer of Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And I think everybody wants to escape when we go to the movies, and this is such a beautiful little story and makes you laugh, and if you have a heart you'll tear up, and you could take kids to it, and it's so incredibly sweet. I can't wait for you to hear her talk about it. I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to see it and to talk to her about the magical little world she created for him. Other than that, I am prepping and it's at the point where you've researched a lot of things and you're ready to pounce, you're ready to buy. Let's buy it. Let's commit to this chair. And you're kind of like, is it good? Can I go? Can we get? So I have like this, I feel like it's always like this, no matter what you're on. You're just ready to buy, and you're almost ready to like just get going. Like I feel like I just want to get everything in there and see it all together, and I can't yet because they're still building the sets. Like there's nothing for me to put in yet, but I'm kind of ready with some things. Obviously not everything. There is a ton of things to get for space, buttons and knobs, and all of that is dressing on the walls, and working very closely with the art department of their specifications of what they want these, like, say, spaceship panels inside to be. So it's really a real learning curve for me because I haven't done this before, and it's so intense of the specifics that it needs to be for either the script or, for electrics and the right wattage. And I am just super lucky that I found good people to help me through this right now. So, yes, it really is taking a village, I believe, to get this one done. And it's massive. You have no idea how many new sets we have. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but if you are a fan of For All Mankind, this 4th season is going to knock your socks off. It's crazy. It's a crazy amount of work, and it's an adventure of a story. So if you're not a fan, get on it. What else are you watching? What else are you watching this summer? Anybody got anything good they want to, if I haven't talked about it, maybe let me know. Am I missing something? I know The Gardener. I know I was told about that. I got that's on the list. I finished Obi-Wan Kenobi. And aside from the beautiful sets and everything, I would have to say the story overall, it started out really good, and you were like, oh, wow, we're going to go down this road? This is crazy. Did this really happen? And then you're thinking in your mind, does this tie in with Star Wars? Did somebody make sure that this all ties together? And then, like I feel with Boba Fett and Mandalorian, the middle episodes get kind of boring. There's a lot of filler in these little Disney, episodic Star Wars things. I don't know, like they can't have a good story every episode. I don't get that. I don't get why it can't just be like a good 8 episodes. There's only really like 3 good episodes story-wise. You could probably watch 1, 7, and 8 and be fine with all of them, really. I don't know. I don't know. But I still think it's good, and I still love watching it, and I'm in. I just get kind of bored in the middle. I don't know if my attention span is really losing it, but I binged and finished the 3rd season of Barry on HBO with production designer Eric Schoonover and set decorator Rachel Ferreira. And whoa, Barry went down a road I didn't think he was going to go. I think it's a completely different show than what I signed up for season 1. And here's this. I talked to production designer Eric Schoonover, and we'll have that episode for you in 2 weeks. And we talk about the differences of the seasons, and, you know, he was the art director and is now the production designer, and, you know, how he took that on. So that's pretty interesting. That's something to look forward to in 2 weeks for you. Other than that, I am watching For All Mankind on Apple too, that they're giving one, you know, it's one a week. I think it's every Thursday. Because the versions that I saw were not finished. So I saw a lot of the cool shit of just people on a green screen and like, you know, I don't know. It was cool to see like, oh yeah, that's how we do it. And then now watching it like fully done cuts. I'm telling you, the 3rd season I think might be the best one. And then of course next season will be really good. So yeah, other than that, if you haven't caught Rutherford Falls, I decorated the 2nd season with production designer Kathleen Wadowski, and it is now airing. The full season of season 2 is airing on Peacock. So check that out. It's cute. It's funny. Ed Helms. I mean, everybody loves Ed Helms. And a lot of research goes into that show to make it very authentic for Native Americans, and the passion and love of the showrunner Sierra Owens is just it's felt throughout the whole cast and crew. It's a real everybody just sort of loves being a part of it. So yeah, check that out. What else? Anything? Yeah, let me know if you've seen anything, or do you agree with me on Obi-Wan? I mean, or Mandalorian and Boba Fett. I gotta be honest, I didn't even finish Boba Fett, and I was into Boba Fett. I just couldn't. I don't get it. I don't. Maybe I gotta go back and finish that, and then we'll talk. But let me know. Let me know if you're seeing something I don't. I don't see it. But yeah. On this episode, I have production designer Liz Toonkel, and Liz has designed this film called Marcel, the Shell with Shoes On. It's a wonderful film about a shell. Yeah, that's right, like a seashell, who lives with his grandmother in an Airbnb, and he's on a little quest to find the rest of his family that has been, you know, mysteriously taken away. It's adorable. Like this, it's such an adorable little film. If you have kids, like I'm going to take the boys to see this. I was going to be Lightyear, but now I'm going to take them to see this as their first film. I just adore it. Liz and her team designed a magical world for little Marcel using household items and just using the scale of the shell for his surroundings and making him a home and this whimsical garden. It's really beautifully done. Like I said, I teared up a little. It's touching. And what I didn't know is that this has been around for 10 years. I don't know where I've been, but I guess there have been some shorts that have been on YouTube, and it was kind of a big thing 10 years ago. I don't know, I was busy. But yeah, so I'm glad I'm on board now. I'm into Marcel now. Liz also production designed the HBO miniseries The Lady in the Dale, which you know I raved about months ago. So I just love that, and I love talking to her about that also. The film's wonderful use of multimedia storytelling mixed in with recreations. It's a fascinating story about a con artist who's an entrepreneur, and if you check out Liz's websites, it has all of her other projects on there. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy. So do you go back and forth, like designing and decorating?
No, I mostly, sometimes I decorate, but I mostly design.
Yeah.
I really worked my way up like indie world.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done a lot of basically decorating.
So you have a background in design though. You went to Tisch.
So I went to Tisch for film, and there I did both like directing and design. And then I went to grad school at CalArts where I did scenic design and fine art.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. I have a master's degree in this.
You are a master. It's so funny because there's so many people who didn't go to school for this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But there's people who did, and it works out. Like it doesn't always work out.
Oh no, I mean that's what I always tell people when they want to do this kind of thing is. And I know people told me this and it was so daunting, but it's like, there is no pathway.
No.
Like, there's no way for someone to tell you how to get these kind of jobs, to get into doing this. It's really like trial by fire.
Yeah. And it's timing and being prepared. That's what I always say. You have to have some talent or some perseverance, and the timing will present itself, and you got to be ready.
Yes. And you also have to I think the hardest part for me is just like picking yourself up after you make mistakes, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a really hard job, and you're expected to know a lot and be responsible for a lot. And so I think just having like, giving yourself some grace to like make a mistake, but keep pushing forward and not give up.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I tell people. Cause I also make art, and it's like, any of this stuff, if you don't quit, something will happen. You just have to have the strength to keep trying, yes. Which is the hardest part.
I loved seeing on your website that you have like art on there, and you're so well rounded in this world. I was like, oh wow, you really do some shit. Like you got like everything on there. It's amazing. It's a really good website too.
Thank you. Shout out to Jessica Toscano at Frankly My Dear for helping me design my website.
Yeah, it's really nice.
She's amazing. Her and her team are amazing. Yeah, I mean, that for me has been something really important to me my whole time, even when I decided to really pursue being a production designer. I've always made my own work, my own films, my own performances, and I wanted to have a career that allowed me to continue to do that, especially when I graduated from college wanting to pursue directing. It was 2007, and being a female director is like a joke. I mean, it still kind of is, but it was like a real impossibility.
Yeah.
And much more so than trying to pursue being a production designer. So it was sort of like, I'm going to keep trying to pursue these things, but like, I need to make money and pay my rent. So I need to have like a tangible skill set that can get me a job. And, it's worked out pretty well, and I've put enough time into it that I have gotten to the point where I can kind of really take large parts of the year off to work on my own work. And that's what's really important to me. And then also to the projects that I choose to design, that they feel like part of my creative work, that they're things I actually care about. Because for so many years I had to just get experience. So it's like, I'll design whatever.
Right.
But at this point in my life, it's like, I will not design whatever. Either you're going to pay me my commercial rate and I'll show up for a couple of weeks, or I'm going to be really personally invested in the story and like the people I'm working with.
I was so excited when I saw that you did The Lady in the Dale.
Oh my gosh.
I was obsessed with it. I told everyone on the podcast, you have to watch this. And not only because this story is like mesmerizing to me, but the way it was told through the design, I was like, it's so interesting. It's not just static pictures. It's not just people talking. It's not just this. It's the use of multimedia that you designed. I just thought, I was like blown away by it. I just thought it was so interesting. And
wow. Well, thank you. I'm so glad you saw it. I mean, most of that credit really goes, my partner is the like animation director of that project. And so he has an animation company called Awesome and Modest, and I've collaborated with him a lot over the course of our relationship. And Zachary Drucker, who was the co-director on Lady and the Dale, her and I are good friends and have collaborated together before. And she knew that Sean Donnelly, my partner, was an animator, and was like, oh, maybe he would be the right fit for this. And then we started talking about it right before COVID. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden that project went from being, you know, recreations and, you know, all their footage, talking heads, etc., and a little bit of animation, to basically being half animated because of the pandemic. And so they brought Sean and I on, and Sean had such a great vision for how to kind of like incorporate the animation. And then I worked with him to sort of like how to bring that out through the design.
Yeah.
And it was really fun and exciting because also there was so much, we moved through so many different time periods, and we had to figure out how to do that through stock footage. And like literally Sean and I, it was the worst part of the project was he would have to photograph me, and like every day. I'm basically Liz Carmichael. Like, all of her body parts that you see are mine.
That's awesome.
And it's all my clothes that I just
so
have in my
awesome.
closet. Luckily, I have a lot of crazy things. And also, you know, at my house, I basically have like a prop house from doing production design. So I had, you know, vintage suitcases, I had vintage telephones, I had all these things. So it was, but we would have these photo shoots that we would just start bickering at each other. And I'd be like, it's like 90 degrees out. I'm in a full pantsuit in the sun. I don't want to be in this photograph. Like I've been like, you know, pandemic binge eating.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't want, but anyway, it was such like a labor of love, and it was kind of exciting too because I got a lot of art department people and people I had gone to graduate school with, you know, who are out of work because of the pandemic, to come in and build backgrounds. And so it was a very exciting project, and it was just, that was something that I cared so much about the story. And Zachary is also such an amazing artist, and in her work, her artwork, she uses a lot of different media and loves collage. And so it was just really inspiring to work with someone like her, who just, not only does she have great vision, but she is so kind and cares so deeply about people.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so especially when we were all going through such a difficult time, to like literally Zoom with someone like that every day was such like a breath of fresh air.
That's awesome.
So it's really special, and we actually are working on 2 other projects with her right now that we're really excited about. And one of them I got to do some crazy recreation live action stuff with her, which was really exciting. So it's so powerful when you find these people that like you really love to collaborate with.
Oh yeah.
And that you also care about the same putting the same work out into the world.
Yeah. It's the caring is huge, because you can have a job, and I haven't had many of them, but you could have a job and be like, I don't care, just put it up, or I don't care, just get it up, let's get me out of, like, I really got to get out of here. And then it's like, did you put that up? Don't do that. We all care. Like, everybody, this is going to be, I need a moment alone in the set. I need to decorate this. I need to do this. Don't judge me. But it trickles down. I feel like if you don't care and the people around you are like half-hearted, it shows in everyone. So it
really, really does.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, the most important thing to me in picking a project or people to collaborate with is like respect. and kindness. And I feel like especially after the pandemic and during it, and that's really important to someone like Zachary. Like literally, I think being personable and caring about getting to know the people you're working with too actually counts for a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'll go on so many interviews and like for jobs, and people won't even ask me one question about myself. They'll just be like, what do you think for this? And maybe that works for other people they're going to work with. For me, I'm like immediately like, I don't think I'm interested, because I think to me, my job is to really collaborate with the director and bring out their vision. Yeah. And part of that collaboration is building trust and respect, and getting to know somebody is part of that.
Oh, definitely.
Like, you know, as a child, and I did so much like theater training and acting, and that's so much of it. It's like building the safe space and getting to care and know people. Yeah. And so I think that that's really important. And the people that I've worked with consistently who act that way, it just really creates better work. And you see it when you watch it, rather than when there's like tension and animosity and like lack of respect.
Because we spend so much time together.
Yes.
I mean, no matter, even if it's a quick project, you're immersed with these people for this amount of time. Like, you have to, you know, you gotta care. Like, oh, you're not feeling good. I get it. I know we got to get this done. Like, I get it. You know, it's people. We're people.
Like, people are human.
People
first.
Get tired.
Their jobs come after that. That's the most important thing. Their job is secondary to that. And I think the people who don't treat, like higher ups who don't treat their crew that way, it really affects the project. Yeah. And I think that also one thing, like someone like Zachary, that I really admire and try to bring into when my hiring practices is it's really important to her to have diversity, and to embrace that and like let that shine in the project. And I feel like it really shows when a crew is not diverse, and then when that wasn't a priority. And so yeah, I just think thinking about those things really matters, and it's not a small thing. Yeah, I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Whenever I interview with a director for the first time, and they're like, "What's important to you as like a designer or like in a collaboration?" I'm always like, "Well, to me, like we're basically once we start shooting, going into battle together, and so we like because every day there's going to be 100 problems we have to solve." And if we don't know that we are allies and we have each other's back, it's not going to work. No. So the most important thing to me in the prep process is to build that foundation of trust.
Yeah, trust. It has to be trust. You have to know when this couch shows up and it's wrong, that like my intention was right, but some other thing went wrong. Yeah. So it's not animosity. It's not me who was trying to not fulfill your vision. It was an outside force that we both have to figure out how to fix. There's so much of that between designer and decorator too. I mean, getting to when you're starting to work with a new designer and you present ideas or you present that couch, it's like, you know, I'm not going against your grain. I really just saw this and thought this is why this would work. And hopefully you're building it together. And, you know, it's rare that it's like right away, because these are visual elements. It's not people getting to know each other in a sense too. All of these other elements have to work together for us to like bring it to the screen. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
And I think that's really important. Like, you know, and I think that we're put into such stressful situations with so much pressure and such limited timelines that it's very easy to point fingers and to, you know, put the onus on other people. And I feel like it's really my job as the designer to stand up for the people working with me, and also in collaboration with them to treat them with kindness and respect, and to like understand that they also have the best intentions. And if they do something that I'm like, oh, why did they make that choice or whatever, that I have like grace and understanding for that, and that maybe I have to also understand that I need to communicate what I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's always these, like, collaboration it should truly be like an equal pathway of back and forth.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be hierarchical. There's a hierarchy because we need a hierarchy in order to get things done and know who's telling who what. But in terms of like ideas and like figuring things out, we should be a team and collaborators.
Yeah.
And that's something I've had to work to learn too, you know? And like, I feel like, I don't know, I think it's really important. Like, self-growth, I think, is really important. And I've spent a lot of time in my own life just really trying to improve my behavior. And so, like,
well, and it's too much. These projects, the projects are so big sometimes. It's too much for one person. You need to depend on people and have that trust and rapport and communicate with them so that we can all get it done on time. I mean, these projects are just becoming more huge, and time and money is, gets cut back a lot. So yeah, you have to be able to trust and communicate with people and really build a quick relationship sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess back to my earlier point, that's why I'm saying I think it's so important to try to get to know people a little bit, because that is what builds a rapport with somebody.
Yeah, you're right.
Not treating them like they're just like a robot who's like showed up to do your bidding.
Yeah. Well, that should be a point for producers and directors to know that when they're interviewing people. That's on them. I mean, and I think it's a tell.
It's a huge tell.
It's a tell if they don't do it. If you did the Lady in the Dale during COVID, how long did it take? Months.
Like 7 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, did you start it before COVID and then?
No,
you started during
July 2020.
Oh, wow. So like almost back to work, but getting right into it.
Yeah, it was very funny because I really wanted to go see my family who's in New York at the top of the pandemic, but I was terrified to fly. So my two friends and I drove east to go see them. It was a crazy trip, like literally, like I wouldn't go in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. But while we were on that trip, we found out that the project was going. So I literally, on our route back from New York to LA, was on my phone on Slack for like 12 hours a day, looking at backgrounds. And
oh my God.
Yeah, it was wild.
You never stop working. It doesn't matter. You never stop working.
Well, it's like I do stop working sometimes, but then when I'm working, I never stop working. It's like I'll have a month where I'm totally off, but when I take a job, it's like 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, because especially if you're invested, you're like lay down at night and
yeah.
Like, oh my God, the drapes, they're the wrong color.
Oh yeah. It's all immersive when you're on something. I was lucky enough to see Marcel's shell, and it made me tear up, first of all. And it's so magical and so good. I have 3.5-year-old twins, and I cannot wait to take them to make this. I was like, this is their first movie. This has to be their first movie. I cannot wait for them to see it.
Everyone who I know who has little children, I'm like, I really hope they'll do that, because I feel like that's such a special movie to be your first movie.
I was like in the middle of the movie, like, oh my God, so I got to make this garden. We got to make this little garden outside. This would be adorable. They would totally be into this. And then I'm like, oh, the trucks. And I'm like, all right, let's concentrate on this movie.
Well, I can give you the drawings for
yes. So first of all, I didn't know that this is basically 10 years in the making ish. I didn't realize that Jenny Slate and Dean had already like done small projects for this and released on YouTube, I believe.
Oh, you'd never seen them?
I had never seen them.
Oh wow!
And if I had,
your first experience.
Yeah,
of it.
I had forgotten. If I had seen it, I had forgotten it, which is a shame because it's awesome. So I was like, oh, I'm out of this loop, this cool Marcel loop. But I'm wondering how you got into the project, and then I have so many questions about the house. But how'd you get into it?
Sure. Well, funny enough, Dean Fleischer Camp, the director, and I went to NYU together. He was the year above me, and my film that I made at NYU called Fashion Kills, I needed an editor on. And so my friend Alon Simca, who actually is the person who introduced me to my partner, he seems to be really good at making connections. He's a producer. He was like, oh, you should get Dean to edit your movie. He's really an amazing editor. And so I met Dean, and I was like, this person is amazing, super special, so smart. And so he edited my movie, made it so much better than I could have possibly made it. And during that process, one day he met me. I was actually working on in an art department on a TV show in New York. And he met me outside the office to go buy a hard drive at Best Buy. It was like pre-Amazon times. And when I came downstairs, he was with this gorgeous woman. And I was like, who is this person who's with Dean? And we all went to go buy this hard drive, and it was Jenny. And they had just started dating.
Oh, cute.
And I was like, this girl has like star power. Like, she was just so gorgeous, so funny. Like, she just, she had star quality. And so they started dating. He finished editing my movie. I got to know Jenny a bit. I went, he helped her do this one-woman show that was at UCB. That was sort of how she got SNL. And, I met their dog, Reggie, and they moved in together, and the apartment where they shot the shorts. And then basically I moved to LA to go to grad school. So I sort of got a little disconnected from them. And during that time, Jenny then was on SNL, and then that all went bust. And when that went bust, they made this Marcel short. And I'm in my design studio at grad school, at 1 a.m. one night, furiously making a model. And one of my peers is like, oh, look at this short. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Dean and Jenny.
Oh my God.
And it was just crazy. And I was like, this is amazing. And of course they made something amazing together. And then basically it was sort of this amazing thing where all these other fabulous people I knew were helping to make this movie with them. My friend Mike Raisler kind of worked at Cinereach and greenlit the project and was gave them a bunch of notes and was an exec on it. And then my friend Liz Holm was the main line producer, or not line producer, kind of main creative producer. And then my friend Andrew Goldman worked at Cinereach. And then my friend from NYU, Nick Paley, was now the co-writer. So it was
oh, nice.
All of these people that I've known for years kind of coming together on this
Oh, that's
project.
awesome.
And so Liz Holm, when I would see her in New York, she was like, oh, Marcel, we are recording it at my house. And maybe when we shoot it, you could maybe come on as the designer. I was like, yes, I would love that. And then basically Dean and I years later sat down and met about the project, and they decided they wanted to work with me, and that was sort of how that all came together. But it was sort of this beautiful tumbleweed of just
oh, that's awesome.
All these amazing talented people I know coming together on this project, and then me being lucky enough for them to want to work with me.
That's awesome, because it must be like a reunion.
Oh, 100%. It
Yeah.
was very special in that way. Because it's so exciting when I get to work with people I've known since I was 18, and they always had this special spark. You always saw their creativity, but now it's honed and disciplined and really sharp.
Right. We're all a little more sharp, hopefully.
Yeah.
How did you go about selecting that house?
Well, so Dean, it was such a long process of the movie before I was even a part of it. And Dean had found this house, literally, I think, searching on Airbnb or like driving around LA. Like, it's not even a house that's listed for filming. Like, he had to go and convince these people to let him shoot there.
I didn't know it was LA till...
It is.
I mean, till the map. Till
the movie, it's supposed to vaguely be Virginia.
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't even look like LA foliage. Like, oh, and then he's out driving around, and I'm like, oh, well, I know who that is. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like, I think for Angelinos, you kind of see that the parts that are LA, but in the story, it's really supposed to be like Richmond, Virginia. But there was only so much that we pushed.
Right.
Because that's where Dean is from. So it was important to him to kind of have that. And it was really important to him. Part of the reason he loved this house was that it didn't feel LA.
Yeah, it doesn't at all. So, yeah,
especially,
it was a good find.
It's funny that you call it the foliage, like the backyard. It's like the most east, because I'm from the East Coast. It's like the most East Coast looking backyard I've ever seen in Los Angeles. And plus we brought in half of that. Yeah. But, so yeah, he kind of found this house, like, courted the owners to let us basically take over it for like 2 months. And then once he had found it, when I came on, it was a lot of figuring out how to make it actually work for the movie.
Did you have any builds?
Yes, there's a number of builds. Besides all the little like shell homes and the miniatures.
Right.
For instance, the living room of the actual house has kind of like, forgive me for not knowing the architectural term, but like those windows with like the rounded tops, like very Spanish.
Oh, very Spanish, yeah.
And the facade of the house is very Spanish and very LA. So we shot a different exterior for the home. Wanted to match that in the interior. So the living room, the big wall that you see that Marcel like goes up on the blinds and sits on the windowsill, that is all built and put into the home. Especially because since Marcel was so directly interacting with that wall, it had to be built so it could go to the stop motion stage.
Oh, I see.
Same with the laundry room. That wall that we see at the end of the film with a window in it, that is built and put into the room. The actual location has like double doors. And so we basically built a flat that sat into it.
Oh, nice.
With a window. The whole garden is built. None of that was there. And then there were alts to the backyard, like pieces of the tree house we built, pieces of the deck, and the foliage and like the greenery in the yard is all brought in.
Oh, wow.
Those were the main
ones.
Human-sized builds.
I was thinking to myself like, oh, this house is great. And when I was looking at the window shots, because they're tight on these windowsills, I was like, is that a really good painter? Or is that existing old windowsills? And then I was like, look at those cobwebs. Like, whoever did those cobwebs was fantastic special effects.
Well, that was spiders. So
there wasn't really,
shout out to them.
Yeah, I was like, that is fantastic. If someone did that, that's fantastic.
Well, it was really important to Dean, because the movie is supposed to feel like a documentary, to have the like verisimilitude and like organic objects of our reality. So when we like had the house cleaned before we came in, we had we like said to the cleaning crew, we were like, do not touch dust.
Yeah.
Do not touch cobwebs. Like,
yeah.
Leave all of that. So a lot of that was made by spiders. So
Good.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of those windowsills and painted surfaces are the real ones that have been in this house for many, many years, with their beautiful patina. And a couple of things were also done by Caitlin Diliberto, who is our lead scenic, who is really, really talented.
Oh, awesome.
And a couple things by the shop called Skid Row Sets that also match some beautiful paint treatments.
I would have to think the scenic has to be really on point, and they were. for this because everything is so close and tight on Marcel. Like you can't fake you can't
That's
fake
the
anything.
hardest part. It's like so many times it's like, oh, okay, we have so much to do, so little money, like there's just, we'll put something on the wall there and forget about that corner. But this movie, it's like, no, every nook and cranny has to be like perfect.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like I mentioned earlier, that perfection, we have to be able to take every element of and put it on the stop motion stage.
It's incredible. I think it's incredible because to me, I don't know anything about this process. And as a designer or even the decorator, it's like everything just has to be like kind of thrown out and then adjusted to this type of stop animation, and everything is scaled, everything is like, reusable things and findable things and everything. So I mean, how much of that was scripted versus you presenting like, oh, it's a champagne flute or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot that was in the script. Like Nick and Dean and Jenny, they all thought a lot about, how Marcel traverses his world and how him and his community are able to create space, especially from things left behind by humans. But a lot of the finer detail, I definitely, presented ideas and collaborated with Dean on. And a lot of the things that were also in the script took a lot of time to figure out how to actually make it work.
Right.
Because like another thing that you wouldn't notice when you watch the movie, but basically anything that moves around Marcel, we had to make move in the live action shoot. So there was a lot of like magical sleight of hand kind of things to do all these practical effects basically of things moving and change. And so I think in terms of like working in scale, I mean, that was why I thought I was a great fit for the job, is because of my background with theater design. I'm very used to thinking about scale because so much of the design process in theater is creating quarter or half-inch models that have to exactly represent human spaces. So I felt very comfortable figuring out how to adjust to Marcel's scale.
I was going to ask that. Did you have to do models for a lot of the, like, I mean, I don't know, did you have to do a model for the garden or like Connie's bedroom or
forgive my dog creature. We didn't make any handmade models. We did, like, for the garden and the other built elements, we did SketchUp models. For any of the more like the plant homes, things like that, we collaborated with two really great stop motion artists who fabricated those. So it was a lot of just conversation with them about the scale, about what we wanted to go in them, and then they were very easily able to translate those notes and ideas into the physical form. But none of those spaces we made models of. It was more like sketches or SketchUp.
Nice. I was wondering with that if they had like a Marcel you just toss around and be like, oh, that's a good scale. Like Marcel fits in that.
100%. So Kirsten Lepore, the amazing animation director on the film, she very early on had the original Marcel 3D printed. So that there were a couple of Marcels floating around, and we were lucky in the art department to have one of those. And so whenever I would go to one of the fabricators' studios or when we were dressing the real home, we would always throw that in and be like, okay, this thing is too big, because he's also like not in a typical scale. It's kind of like working on with a Barbie or something like that. Like you have to kind of figure out the ratios based on his size.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, even the sofa to me is like it couldn't have been too small or too big, and it needed to fit the room and the style and everything. But at the end, when you have all of those shelves and everything, and then the coffee table like size and everything, I was like, oh man, that would have been like getting a bunch of shells and seeing how many I could fit on there, and like I feel like I would have been a shell lady wearing like a shell necklace, trying to like at Omega, like putting down shells on tables. I feel like it would have driven me crazy.
I love that idea. Well, that couch, funny enough, was one of the hardest things in the whole movie. I found this, my set decorator and I found this beautiful, like copper colored velvet couch that I loved, and got Dean to sign off on, and it showed up and he was like, no, it's too stiff. Like it has to be worn. The shells have to be able to like run across it. Then we ended up buying like 6, thrifted couches, all of which he rejected. And then I had a spark of an idea, and I was like, crew, we're going to buy a couch. We're going to take out the cushions and we're going to stuff it with stuffing. And then I'm going to show it to Dean. And that was the one he picked.
Nice.
So we never told him that that's what we did, but that's what got him to buy one or to pick one, because it was finally like so soft.
Yeah. I was thinking of that, of the back cushions. I was like, wow, this is a true shabby chic sofa they have here, because it looks 100%. Like ass prints and all, like yeah. It was perfect for that. I loved it. I would have to say that I love the scene at the end with everything, but I think it's the genius of Connie's bedroom and Connie's garden. Like those sets are so magical. I keep using that word, but like they're just so cute and so like inspirational, of like, oh my god, like this little world is so great. And so I just love being a viewer in it, and it's so funny. I mean, the movie's so funny too as an adult. Like it really reaches both sides of ages.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 spaces were probably the most fun to design. I was my 2 grandmothers. I felt a really strong connection with them, and then after they like passed on, especially with their stuff, like the things that I have of theirs, and so that's why I thought it was so exciting that Nana Connie lives in this old jewelry box, and just because so much of what I have from my grandmothers is their jewelry.
Yeah.
And I love like creating like feminine spaces too. So I loved kind of the femininity that we brought into that space, and the color palette.
Yeah, the palette I was going to say was great. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we found this old jewelry box, and then we kind of like reupholstered it. And there was a lot of time spent to I loved this idea of having her sleep in like a makeup compact.
Yeah.
And so like just trying to find one that had this really beautiful, we actually bought them separately, but finding a really beautiful powder puff for her to sleep on, and then like the right color of tissue for her sheet. So that was really an exciting thing for me. And with the garden, yeah, I mean, I really collaborated heavily on the garden with my art director, Jake Tremblay, and my set decorator, Ahmed Delgado Riviera. And they both have a much, like, I do not have a green thumb. I love plants, but they both have a much stronger connection to the plant world, and had some really beautiful ideas. And yeah, I just think it's such a beautiful thing in the movie, and especially it's so rare, if it's even been done before in a feature film, to have stop motion characters like engaged with live plants. It was such a challenge. Like we really,
I mean, even the lighting of it, to me, I thought was really good, because the absorption of one and the reflection of the just how they all work together, I thought it was beautifully done.
Yeah, I mean, Bianca Klein, the DP, she, I think that's one of her strengths, is really working with natural light, and bringing out that with live organisms. So yeah, she did an incredible job with that. So yeah, I agree. I think those two spaces are really, really magical and really like just create such an amazing world.
Was there anything that was like the biggest challenge? Like the dryer or like anything that was I don't know.
No, yes, one of the biggest challenges was honestly the tennis ball that Marcel roams around in the movie. So that's actually a robot. And we had to go through like a really long process to figure out how to make that work. My friend Frances Angevine, she was the fabricator of that, and basically it's a robot that looks like a tennis ball, but it's not a real tennis ball. Because we had a different version that was sort of like a robot in a real tennis ball, and we showed it to Dean, and Dean was like, it doesn't go fast enough. It has to like zoom through a hallway, or it has to be able to go downstairs. And so it was a lot of iterations to find the one that looked like a tennis ball and actually he could fully control.
That's so funny because as cool as that is, that Marcel gets around the house when he wants to go somewhere quickly in he goes inside a tennis ball. I would never think that would be, because I just assumed like, oh, that's more of animation. I actually didn't think it was a real tennis ball.
Well, that's the thing that was so challenging on the project, and which like would be an interesting thing to go see the film after knowing some of that is basically everything that moves in the movie actually moved except for Marcel. Like, so because it was really important to Dean and Kirsten Lepore that basically, like, if you have a stop motion character move like a ball in stop motion, the ball is going to be staccato and kind of not move like a normal ball would. Like, think about it when you watch Gumby or something like that. And it was really important to them that everything around Marcel was real. And so anything that moved in a live action shoot with no human touching it. Wow. So that was a really hard part of the process, and something that we spent a lot of the prep process figuring out was just breaking down every action in the movie to figure out how we would do it.
Wow. And how long? You said you had 2 months in the house?
Yeah, I think I had about a month of prep, maybe 6 weeks, but it was not long.
No. And then you shot for how long?
We shot for 4 weeks.
Oh, that's it?
The live action.
Then the
stop motion was much longer.
And then that was it. Oh. I was wondering that because I was like, either this went really fast or really long. I don't know, because I have no idea. And I was like...
It went really, really
But all I could imagine was looking at the call sheet and seeing like probably like 10 sets that day or something, and you're like, what? Wait, what? Do we have?
There was so much too. Like, we'd shoot out a section of the house and like have to like return the stuff from it, and then they'd be like, "Oh, we're going back over there."
No,
like,
no, you're not.
So yeah, it was a sprint.
Yeah,
it was a sprint, and I had a very small crew who worked tirelessly and in many, many different capacities. Because not only did we have to get everything on camera, but basically as soon as we shot something out, we had to archive it and send it to cold storage for the stop motion shoot.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, 'cause it's like doing 2 movies in 2 different places and shooting the same thing.
100%.
That's awesome. Well, that sounds cool and not cool. Yeah. It's a cool product at the end. It's always like a lot of times I'll read scripts. Like I remember reading Veep and being like, I can't wait to watch this, but I don't want to do it. I don't think we can do this. Can we do this? This is crazy. But then you get excited about it. Like, wow, we're gonna do this. This is amazing. Was Jenny around to do the voice? Like, did that help you in designing things? Like hearing her voice? as Marcel?
Basically what they had done, as opposed to like write a script, like, like when I first was asked to look at the project, instead of receiving a script, I received an animatic, which is in animation world. That's basically like the whole movie drawn out with all the audio. Oh. And so they already, they had temp music and temp sound effects, but they had all of the dialogue recorded. And so I basically saw the movie before I made the movie, which was really helpful. So I knew what the tone was. I knew and Dean also drew the whole thing. He's an amazing artist. And yeah, I mean, I watched the animatic and I literally was like sobbing at the end. Like it was so impactful, just as like sketches. So Jenny came for a few days during the shoot when we shot the 60 minutes portion, because that was actually improvised. But the rest of the film was already, she had pre-recorded.
Oh, wow. Good for her. Get in and get out.
Yeah. I mean, she was very involved with this for many years.
Yeah.
She definitely put in her time. She just wasn't present at the shoot the whole time.
Well, there's one other I'm going to watch the movie that I didn't have time. Is it Give Me Pity?
Oh,
I saw the trailer for it and I'm like, I gotta watch that. I didn't have time before I talked to you, but
I don't know,
I don't know where.
I don't remember when that's coming out.
I mean, at first I was like, is this a movie about Bette Midler? Like, what is this? But I just say, the color of it just draws me right in. I don't know what you got going on there with pianos and color and like it's a stage. I love it. But so that, I mean, I'm going to have to get in touch with you to let you know, but it looks amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, that is something I collaborated on with this incredible writer-director, Amanda Kramer, who I first met, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago when she was going to make this project called Lady World. And I read her script and I was like, I am obsessed with this. I want to work with this person. And then I met her and I'm like, I'm obsessed with her. And then basically that project, the funding kind of fell through and she ended up sort of making it like micro budget on her own. And then we've like sort of stayed in touch, and she approached me about this project, which was supposed to sort of be like, in the vein of like Cher making a TV special in like the late 70s. I think that's where I covered.
It looks it.
And I read it and I was like, this is incredible. I love everything in this. I want to be involved. And that we made with like a stick of gum and like $2. And with her brilliance, it looks like way more. And we were supposed to shoot that like a week after lockdown in March 2020. And so because it was a labor of love project, I had a baby grand piano in my art studio for it and a bunch of other dressing that literally sat in there for 6 months.
Oh no.
Until we could move them to storage. So yeah, I mean, that was a really exciting project because, I love experimental theater. I love performance art. And it was very much in that vein of like, how do we think about having a few special objects that transform over time? Mm-hmm. And it all takes place in like one space.
On one stage, right? It looks like one stage, and then the performance and the story just revolve. Yeah. I mean, and your website, I was like, you are a find.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take my twins to see Marcel when it comes out. I was gonna have Lightyear be their first film, but now I don't know. I think Marcel's much.
It looks so drab, doesn't it?
Oh, Lightyear?
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm very particular about color palettes, and I'm like, it looks dark.
Dark. It does look dark. I will give you that. It does. They're obsessed with Toy Story, so That's
I'm
the
sure
reason.
they would love it.
But then I saw this and I was like, this is bright and happy and so cute. Like they would love this. So, and you're in LA?
I am. I go between LA and New York.
Nice.
I'm doing this job right now. That'll be over in a week. And then I am going to Europe in August to perform a one-woman magic show that I'm working on.
Oh my God. I didn't know if you wanted to get into the magic stuff. And I don't want to, I mean, I might need a whole nother episode on you just to talk about magic. I mean, that's fantastic. And are you at the Magic, have you done the Magic Castle?
Yeah, I read that. I'm a magician member there.
That's so awesome.
I haven't like officially performed in any of their like curated spaces. But yes, that through the Magic Castle is how I've really learned magic.
That is so completely fascinating and must be such a good, like, not that you're doing physical tricks, but like you could do some mind tricks on people, I'm sure, like in this business.
Well, it is really helpful as a designer. Like, you know, Marcel, I really pulled from that toolbox to figure out a lot of the gags and things like that. And it's just, I feel like magician knowledge is really helpful as a designer. Especially just like figuring out how to make little things really special.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's such a great thing to like pull out. I'm sure it comes up like every once in a while and you're like, I know how to do that. Like, yes. I know how we can do this.
I mean, I think that's like the beauty of being sort of interdisciplinary is like you really have like a more diverse skill set.
Yeah.
So I think it takes a long time for people to recognize that because in our industry, people are very much like, I need you to do this one thing. But sometimes they don't realize that like being able to do a lot of things helps you do that a lot better.
Yeah, the multitasking is ridiculous in our world.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna end this. Thank you so much. I mean, she's a magician, people. She's a magician. I'm so bummed I didn't spend the last hour just talking about that with her. I kind of missed the boat on that. I should have her back on just to talk about magic, I feel like. But what is she going to do? Tell me your secrets? So I guess that wouldn't work out. Or show me. I mean, we're on a podcast here. She's not going to show me anything. But I'm really glad I grabbed her for this interview because I just think she's a shooting star and is so sweet and so nice. So I'm so glad that she had time to speak with me, and her love for these projects really comes through, I think, when she's talking about them. So yeah, again, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is my summer pick. I don't care what you say. I don't care about Tom Cruise or dinosaurs. At this point in the world, we all need to see something a little loving and caring. I think this is it. And then, as I said, on my next episode, I have production designer Eric Schoonover, who is talking about Barry, the third season of Barry, which just ended on HBO Max. So if you haven't caught that, the third season is really dark. It's dark. It's a different show, but it's still good. Like, it's still good. I would definitely try to catch that if you can. And what else I say? Oh, Rutherford Falls, Season 2 on Peacock, decorated by yours truly. And also I have a new blog post for all those graduates out there and want to start up in Hollywood. I have 5 tips on how to get into the business. I mean, just knock on doors. Everybody wants to give you a job. And you know what? It's actually really busy, so you're starting at a good time. If you're looking to get into this, it's a really good time. It's plentiful right now, so good luck. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanna for Decorating Pages. Float into the 4th of July on your Stogie Floaty luxury pool float. Free shipping all summer with promo code FLOATFREE on stogiefloaty.com and also available on Etsy.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Before starting any renovation project, take the time to plan meticulously. Assess the customer's needs, budget, and timeline to ensure a smooth and successful renovation process. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.